Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast and live stream. I'm Jessie Lezak, fractional CMO at BDEX, along with BDEX's founder and CEO, David Finkelstein. Good to see you, David. We had an error on Facebook. So as I ask you what's new, I'm going to be trying to put us on Twitter.
All right, no problem. What's new? Everything's good. We're getting ready to launch some new features on our anonymous visitor pixel tracking thingy, and the team is working hard on it. But we got a whole bunch of new features that we'll be adding onto it. So look out for that. Those that are listening or watching, we'll be announcing those new features soon.
That's awesome. Sounds like the marketing team needs to get to work and find some names for these thingies.
Yeah, well, it's OmniPixel, but at the moment, I'm trying to think of what to call it because we have all these new features coming. So
I love that. Well, we gotta love new features because it just means more value for customers. But today on Deconstructing Data, we're thrilled to welcome yet another really great guest. And today it is Paul Boynton, and he's the co-founder of CSI. I'm going to bring him in here. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad to have you today, Paul, and appreciate you joining us on the show today. And we're going to ask you to kick it off and give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a background about who you are and where you came from, and a little bit about CSI and what led you to start it and what you guys are doing.
Oh, great. Well, I appreciate the chance to talk to your audience because you've got a nice podcast, and hopefully people will understand what we are and what we're trying to do, and we'll find some new partners out of this. But so my career has mainly been in the specialty insurance business. So more or less what I've done for the past 25 years or so is help Fortune 100, Fortune 200 companies, household name retailers and manufacturers, and leading private companies operate and expand in emerging markets. And really, we do that through the use of other people's money, and that money is insurance capital. And so this business tends to be tough markets, tough countries, tough industries, and big dollars. And it's the kind of business that typically insurance companies don't want to lend their capital to or risk their capital to. So, but through the years and through our successes doing this business for these companies, they all had one commonality, and that is that the reason that there was success wasn't because we're big insurance experts or anything like that. It's because of liaisons that we made with local partners and local people that are insiders in the industries, in the markets, in the products, and with the counterparties themselves that you need to work with in these business transactions. So the information that we were getting, the insight we were getting from our local partners, which is everything from companies that are their ownership, the families, the business cycle, the markets, the competition, who does what, who likes who doesn't like who, why you want to work with this guy and don't work with that guy. That kind of information, is really that behind the curtain info, I should add, is only the kind of stuff you're going to get that's really eyes to mouth to ear that people can provide. That is something that you really can't get on a static business information site. So, if you're on your Bloomberg or your Moody's or your S&P or Morningstar, whatever you use, you have static information that is useful to help you build a frame, but you don't have that insight and wisdom to make a good business decision to bring it over the line. So that kind of information, that kind of insight is what our passion is to try to have a platform that not only visualizes info, but gives you that insight and wisdom to make the decisions you need to make a good decision and to do good business. Good information really isn't about having grease in your wheel to get a business transaction done. It's more about having the insight and wisdom to say, hey, look at this. This is not what it really appears to be. It's something different, and it's something good. And so that is the experiences I had in my career that, and through the relationships we built locally, some of those relations were very, very good information providers. One of them is an Asian company that we worked with for years and has since become my partner in CSI in the product development side. And so what we learned about their in-depthness and broadness of information in that market, that's sort of what we're trying to replicate here, is be a worldwide one-stop solution to in-depth business intelligence.
That's really
awesome. That's a really interesting journey for sure. The companies that you're serving today, are the similar types of companies, or what are the type of companies that are your sort of ideal customer today?
Well, so our information touches a lot of cheese, as I say, and so we try to provide the full spectrum of the Know Your Client KYC process. So the financial performance, the ownership, the operations, the legal management, and of course financial statements and performance, and last but not least, trade information, import-export records, customs records, supply chain analysis. So to be frank, there's not many disciplines that don't need us or don't use us or don't use business information that probably should be using us. And that's so we work so far with manufacturers, and we work with financial institutions, chemical companies, trading companies, commodity companies, but companies that usually have a worldwide reach and need to, do in-depth analytics on customers and vendors around the world.
That's awesome. So let's jump into one of the first topics, because I think there's a lot to unpack here with respect to sourcing data. So what can you share with us about this topic?
Oh gosh, sourcing data. My God, that's the big elephant in the room, isn't it? Because data is everything. Everybody's thinking about AI. Well, AI is great, and AI is going to be a game changer, but it's only as good as the data that comes with it and feeds it. But we source data, and we own most of our data, by the way, which is a big feature of our company. But we source data from countless different sources from governmental, public, ministries, controllers, regulators, private data aggregators, you name it. But it's literally thousands. And I haven't tried to count it because it's probably impossible. But, these people, we glean administrative data, ID, address, phone number, name, ring, serial number kind of stuff. And then we have other people that provide ownership data and related companies, the directors and officers information, all big part of the KYC process. And then there's operational data. What do they do? How long have they done it? What markets are they in? And then there's the good old internet and a lot of publications and things out there, including like court records. And sorry, I have some notes over here. I'm glancing at it. Litigation records, negative records, but it's a huge part of our platform in that this data is coming in, and of course there's a lot of negative data out there too on people that is all populated into our data enrichment process. But we bring all this data in, and it gets sourced and into our S3 cloud system, and when it goes through a enrichment process. But that as far as gathering data, we get it from these sources. If we can't get it from these sources, we get the data ourselves, and we have strategic partnerships in places like Johannesburg and Miami and Latin America and Europe, Switzerland, partners that go get information for us, put the hand if they have to. If we can't get new data, we try to model it, and which gives our subscribers something scientifically sound, statistically sound, that they can still use in that decision-making process. And to model information, you have to have a lot of data points, and we have a lot of data points usually. If we don't, we're stuck and we go get the data. But it's a huge process. It's the very core of providing a good visualized solution, UI solution on the screen. And it's something that's, very, very important to us.
Yeah. So, we talked earlier before the show a little bit about AI, and you mentioned it here. But, one of the things that we also talk about is like the importance of, the result from an AI perspective is only as good as the data going in. So I imagine that's one of the biggest challenges you have is when sourcing data is identifying not just the source, but is the, what is the quality of the data, and sort of having to figure out if the quality of that data justifies, being used by your company and being sourced for your clients as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, data quality is huge. And I mean, I can't really tell you exactly what the number is, but I can tell you that we have information on over 500 million corporations, and it's in our database. It's enriched daily, and that data, it goes through a normal enrichment process where the golden tag is applied to different standards of data that we see, and those standards of data are in a survivorship sort of analysis are established, and that's where we develop data quality, and we take it very, very seriously. But having lots of data that's organized properly, used properly, and so we know how to pick up, not only what we, establish as the standard data, but there's a lot of substandard data out there that still, we may have a record on you that you live on 123 Elm Street, and it has a zip code and all that stuff, and there you are. But there may be a customs record of a trade you did that doesn't show you lived on Elm Street, but it has the same zip code. But that data is going to be populated into your overall aggregation of, of the 360-degree picture of you, and that's a big, overwhelming process that that we take very, very seriously. I've all of a sudden lost your picture. What happened?
Well, hopefully you still see us.
We see you.
Yeah, we still see you. It still looks the same for us.
Yeah.
Did you find it, Paul? Are we there now?
Hang on.
Okay. Well, as you're talking, David, whenever we talk about sourcing data, I always think it's such an interesting topic. And it always reminds me of that graphic you had us make that one time of the funnel where the data is all like flowing into the funnel, it's getting cleaned up, and then the clean data is then moving through the rest of the funnel. It's more of like a sift, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. That's always been one of the challenges is not just finding the sources, but identifying from that source, what data is good and what is not, and being able to sort of sift through that. I can guarantee you there's no one source that has 100%, good data. There's always some percentage that's bad, and some are worse than others. And so, when you're talking about aggregating data, I think it's extremely important to be able to build that filter that identifies which, what data coming in from any given source is, validated and can therefore be aggregated into your platform. And sort of this actually, to me, sort of segues us into the next topic, is about enriching data, because, you have this data set, however large it is, but there's always additional data you look to enrich that with, right? But there's always that challenge that we just said, identifying the data sources that you are comfortable with from a data quality standards point of view, but then also identifying each individual data point that you're looking to enrich, and making a determination whether that's a data point that you can validate and would actually enrich with, versus, is it questionable and do you need to filter it out, right?
Absolutely. And it's a big component to our platform, because we have different sectors of review and of analysis of the different counterparty review and industry review. And a great example of that is trade data. We do lots of import-export information and supply chain information, but I mean, we're talking, we source import-export info from 36 different countries, and these trade records actually cover over 162 countries and regions. So, and that data it just depends on what country and what authority is coming from, or what private provider is coming from, but it might be updated weekly, it might be updated once a year, but all of that has to be properly tagged and channeled to the counterparty that you're looking at, or the related company, or the owner, or the management, or whatever you're studying in your own analytical review.
Interesting. And so talk to us a little bit about that trade data. I know that that's actually our third topic, so we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'd love to understand a little bit more about how that data is used. Is there specific use cases you have for that data? Who are the clients that use that data? It's really interesting.
It's a huge feature, because especially now, in supply chain analysis and supply chain sustainability, and it's very, very, very important as part of the KYC process that you understand not only the supply chain of a vendor you're looking at, but the vendor's supply chain, and understand the buying and selling trends, their customer patterns. Are they compatible with you? Are they, does it look like their exports are their exports going up, or their imports going down? Is that, does that indicate there's some financial problems happening? Are they sustainable? What's the growth potential with, these different vendors that you need in your supply chain process for, proper inventory turnover, not to mention logistical issues, shipping, training, trucking, whatever, is needed to, get your supplies where they need to be. But looking at your suppliers is a big part of really the platform mentality. And so, what CSI, what differentiates us from maybe other people in the industry is our platform look and our platform nimbleness, and that we don't encourage you to look at your counterparty and just stop there. We encourage you to look at your counterparty and all the behind the curtain things, not only who owns them and who the related companies are, check out, the directions and concentrations those companies have. But the supply chain is a big, big part of that, especially now with, let's face it, the world's factory is China, and, India. And some of these suppliers can be over concentrated. Some of these suppliers could be subject to sanctions. But you have to know what you're getting into in order to build a sustainable business model, and that's a big part of the KYC process.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we have a couple of clients that are in the hedge fund and industry research that would probably really find that those data sets, highly valuable. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of the, risk management. It's a big part of knowing, if you're going to head in the right direction with the, you don't want somebody that's too heavily reliant on imports from a politically unstable region, for example. If that's the case, well, you may need to look at the next guy, or you may not see that in your vendor, but you see it in his vendor. So that's why it's critical actually to look down the layers in analysis now.
Makes a lot of sense. And so is that where a lot of the enrichment data can come in handy as well to sort of help you understand that? Or what do you have to do to really do that type of research?
Well, enrichment is, that's as algorithmically done. I hope I said that properly. Yeah, I mean, that process is something where AI is going to enhance, I think, quite a lot, because, gleaning data and gathering data from different algorithms and organizing it quickly, efficiently, and smartly is where AI is going to make a big difference. And, as a company, we've been doing this kind of process actually ever since we set up this platform. For example, a big reason, we always talk about company review and vetting and KYC and stuff like that, but really a very good reason to use platforms like ours is for marketing, because we also have had a feature on our site to help provide a list of pre-qualified partners. So you can use us to say, okay, I want to check out, this guy who sells coffee in Turkey, but I need a list of the 20 best coffee suppliers in Turkey, and they've been in business for 10 years, and they have revenue of X, and they have profits of Y. Let's see what they look like, and we'll provide a list of 10 or 20 partners that you might want to pursue.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's it's in line with what we do on the B2C marketing side. It's interesting to see sort of the in-depth data that you have and the ability to apply that in a B2B marketing use case. It's identifying an audience you want to reach, and I think that's something that we're in tune to for sure, and I think our audience is in tune to. And I think that there's a lot of B2B marketers out there listening that would agree, and that the sort of vast amount and types of data that you guys are sourcing would be really valuable in building those audiences.
It's just a big deal, and the different grades and qualifications given, indices and benchmarks for like ESG is a big thing these days. Environmental, and then the forecasting and valuation. These are other things that we get into that's algorithmically machine learned on our sites that are, and you can use this in your qualification, to find new partners and new new customers and new sales and things like that. But marketing is something we're very bullish on, and it's something that we're going to, I think, crow about, is that we have a very good platform to use that way, besides your normal due diligence functions that you need out of a CSI-like platform.
Mm. That's all a great point.
Hmm.
So anything more on data enrichment? I mean, we've already got into trade data, but in terms of like trade data usage and relevance and compatibility, what more might you be able to add?
Well, trade data, I think, is critical to find people that are compatible with, your business objectives. So, you need to know that you're looking at people that know what they're doing, but also, have the sustainability qualifications that you need. But, you know, in the markets that people deal with, and commodities, for example, there's so many more factors that come into play than just financials. There's reputational issues, there's legal, there's sanctions. These are all part of our platform to help you qualify, and evaluate the different features of these companies. And another thing that we're keen to is you need to. It's really, really keen that the reputation of the counterparty that you're working with, and the industry and the environment that you're getting into. One of the features on our site is we have a news feature in partnership with Dow Jones, so that you can put in your counterparty's name, and we'll pop up relevant stories and issues about that company and about their industry and their market. So if he's Brazilian, you'll see articles in Brazil about what's going on in that marketplace. But you need all this to really understand the full DNA of who you're dealing with.
Mm.
I want to backtrack a little bit back to our discussion about using this data for marketing, only to sort of dig a little bit more into how your platform works. If I'm identifying an audience of people I want to target, is this, and I know you mentioned, you can identify the companies and their economic buyers and things like that within the companies. Is this a direct mail targeting type of marketing? Is there a digital marketing component to it?
Well, what we do is just, we'll find the counterparties for you. We'll find the partners for you. Then how you want to reach them is, however you like to do it. But, we have a couple of different platforms. One is an Asia-only platform called You the Man, that you see if you look at our landing page. And, we're working to bring the features of that platform to our worldwide CSI platform, which will be available shortly. But in that platform, you can actually do a marketing dig that goes from industry to region to size to product to profitability to revenue, and then to end users, and produce a marketing list. And whatever you do with that list, you email it to your marketing team and say, go get them, or put it into a digital marketing campaign. You can do whatever you want, but you'll have a really nice sound list of new potential customers and partners.
It's awesome.
Very cool. So like if you were doing some sort of e-commerce and, you wanted to look at different vendors to, potentially source information from, could they get some of that information from your platform?
Well, e-commerce tends to target consumers, right? So, we're more B2B
Okay.
versus a consumer market. But so probably not as much applicability there.
Gotcha. So could you give us an example of like what would the product be then that they would be sourcing?
Well, like for example, like if you're a manufacturer,
Okay.
and let's just say, I don't know, you make uh, air conditioners for commercial buildings, and you're trying to increase your sales base with property developers in Germany, and you want to go after a set of customers that have certain criteria.
That
You
makes
can,
sense.
yeah, you can build a list of those companies. So going in, and it might even have a financial rating, a credit assessment. That's something else we do, is we provide credit assessments when we can. So and so that going into the game, you're giving your digital marketing um, program project, you're feeding it really good data. So you're already, 3 steps ahead. You've got good partners here. So let's go get the good partners versus let's go after everybody and figure out which ones are good and then see what we can do. You're starting out with all the A students, so to speak.
Well put.
Kind of you. Yeah, very well put. So really good stuff. So anything else on any of these topics that we've covered that you want to make sure we get to? So we've talked about sourcing data, we've talked about enriching data, we've talked about trade data usage, and I'm about to get into tech stack because we're curious to hear what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack. But before we do, anything you want to wrap up on any of the 3 topics?
I don't think so, except to say that, we have a reach and a depthness, in-depthness, I should say, that, is really industry leading. So when you think about our platform versus other business information companies, it's the private sector where we really differentiate ourselves. I mean, we have all the public company news as well. But if you look at the private sector reach, most of the industries kind of here, we're kind of here. And that's what we focus on, is gathering data in the private sector, analyzing, doing all the enrichment, and, providing that, behind the curtain insight that I referred to at the start of our conversation. But that's really, what our game is. It's private companies with a worldwide reach.
Very cool. Private companies, worldwide reach.
Yep.
So along with that, let's move into tech stack. Now, this is a question we ask all of the guests who come on Deconstructing Data. And we like to know, what are some of your favorite tools in your tech stack that make you and your team more efficient?
Okay, so I started this conversation to say I'm not an IT guy, background, so I'm gonna try to address this. But I certainly understand the processes and how we gather our data, and we put it into our AWS cloud S3, and then we utilize bespoke databases, Redshift and products like that. So, and ultimately it's a UI assessed solution. So, those are my experiences, and we certainly know other people that do very, very good bespoke databases, and these are companies that we may well get involved with later down the road. But as far as you're talking about me personally, one of the other nice little toys that we're going to have soon is we'll have an app on Apple and Amazon and Google, which I was hoping would be launched by the time of this call, but apparently it's not. but we're trying to get this deployed ASAP. And from in my world, I use apps a lot, and that's what makes my life tick a little faster and better. But I think the mobile application is absolutely critical in what we do because, like it or not, people work from their phone and their iPad, but I don't even think the iPad, I think it's more the phone. I admit I do it. I may even be on a computer with you, but I turn around and I'll answer an email on my phone. So apps are big. We're really keen into apps. We'll have our first version of our app out shortly, which will give you some functionality of our big site online. It'll give you at least the full company search sort of functionality. If you want to get into the more analytical side of our site, you probably need to get back on your Mac and get into it there. But it will give people out and about, probably the functions they need to use us. We're trying to be as utilitarian as we can. With what we have, and so we're excited about that. We're small. We haven't been out there that long, but we think we carry a big stick, and we're trying to get out there and compete with the big boys. And so we think we do what we do very well, and we're trying to be better and better every day. We'll have a facelift on our platform ready in July. So the platform is always evolving. It's always getting more innovation. We're like a lot of companies. We're very involved in the AI space, and AI will be more and more implemented in our solutions. Very soon. So it's all very, very exciting.
Yeah, no software product is ever done. It's always evolving, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's been a very learning experience, I must say, as you say that. Things aren't instant.
That's for sure. Jesse, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay, so good point, David. And it could always be better. There's always room for improvement, right? Especially with software.
Yep, for sure.
Well, we're getting close to time, but I think we might have time for one post-topic question, Paul. So if we could get from you just a little bit of advice. So if you could go back into a time, we'll say when you first came into, this industry, what is the number one piece of advice you would give yourself?
I would say immerse yourself in the IT world and understand the environment. Understand, the how the data acquisition process works. How we've been talking about enrichment. Understand how that works. And I got to say, since I've learned it, it's changed like 3 times, and now we have AI involved. And people ask all the time about, how much AI do you have in there? Well, it changes every day. And frankly, I can't even answer that question. I mean, AI is going on right now in our site, and I don't even know what it looks like. I'll find out next week. But it's really important to understand the market that you're getting into if you want to be in the data information business. And buckle your seatbelt.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Would you say that too, David?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the biggest challenges is keeping up with technology, right? I mean, it's a constant. It constantly changes. It constantly moves forward, and especially lately, I feel like it's at a pace that is like, we're seeing a year's worth of of advancements in just a matter of months.
Yeah.
And having said that, some of it's hype, some of it's real. What to get excited about, what to not get excited about, or understand what's really going on. And I can't say that I do. I'm just saying that yeah, it's all coming really, really fast. But yeah, and to stay ahead of it is important and not easy.
Yes. And we'll need quality data no matter what to help feed the AI. So
You got it.
it's all really great. But thank you so much for sharing that, Paul, and thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me, and really appreciate the time and meeting everybody, and hope to see you again sometime.
For sure, Paul. We appreciate you joining us on the show, and we'll have Jesse close it out for us.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you both. It was a really great show. I really enjoyed it. And audience members, we invite you to get powered by BDEX. So we want you to build authentic connections with your audience and drive unprecedented engagement. So just imagine harnessing the power of AI, like we've been talking about, but to craft audiences that truly resonate with your brand, ensuring that your marketing efforts are hitting the mark every time. Quality data isn't going anywhere. We're going to be needing it more and more. So we want to help bring you closer to your goals. And we're eager to guide you there. So just simply visit bdex.com, or I'll put the QR code up here if you're watching this on video. And just simply, once you head over there, just go to the Talk to an Expert button and let us know, and we'll help you get powered by BDEX. And for those of you curious about deconstructing data, we are looking at sponsorship opportunities, and we have audience data. So if you would like to see that, we would love to share that with you. And also, if you know anyone who should be a guest on Deconstructing Data, please send that information to us. I'll put the email address up here on the screen. It's just info@bdex.com. And share your qualitative data with us so we can make this show even better for you. But thank you so much. And thanks again, Paul, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.